Does melanotan 2 cause cancer, specifically melanoma? So if you don't know what MT2 is, it's a peptide that activates a receptor in our skin cells, and from doing that, it increases the production of melanin. So why someone would take it is because you could take melanotan 2 and you could stay inside or even just go outside in very low UV levels and get a tan, instead of exposing yourself outside to the harsh sun and getting skin damage, melanoma, and so on. But if you've ever looked up MT2 online, you'd likely see comments of people saying that it's linked to cancer, skin cancer. There are many study headlines saying melanoma associated with the use of MT2. We have even evidence of people using MT2, and they have moles that have erupted after a 4-week course of subcutaneous MT2. Obviously, when you hear this, and when I heard this as well, I was thinking, okay, well, it probably does increase the likelihood of you getting melanoma. But then I dug into the studies more. So we'll see, are these people actually right? Do these claims have any merit whatsoever? So this guy, for example, is a 25-year-old man, came to their department because he had an eruption of moles. And obviously hearing that, I'm like, oh my God, you can get fucking cancer from using this. Then we look deeper into the case itself, and we can extrapolate from different documented reports and basically make our own sort of meta-analysis on this. Because as of now, at least, there aren't many studies on this. I think total, there's about 13 or 14 subjects that have been documented, so we don't have much to go off of. But for this guy, he is a type 2 phototype construction worker who regularly uses a tanning bed. All right, if you don't know what the phototypes or skin types are, basically these two skin types are the most at risk for melanoma because they burn a lot. And then we look at the other people who have been reported to use MT2, and this is, as the headlines say, associated with melanoma. And we look at, okay, 2 women, 30, 48. We have a 40-year-old patient, 19-year-old woman, 23-year-old, blah, 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 right? But this 40-year-old patient with a history of melanoma, 19-year-old woman who is a regular user of a tanning bed. Of note, all of these patients had the following risk factors: phototype 1 or 2, personal and family history of melanoma, regular use of tanning beds, and repeated exposure to sunlight. And if you remember what I said at the start of the video, I basically just said that the main benefit is you don't have to expose yourself to these harsh UV rays. So these people aren't using MT2 for that benefit. They're essentially just using it to enhance their own tanning regimen. This is a common occurrence. I think 95% of the case studies we have, or the documented reports, have either a regular use of the tanning bed, have a personal and or family history of melanoma, and just repeated exposure to sunlight. And let's say we take out MT2 and just look at their behaviors. So they're repeatedly tanning outside, they are using sunbeds, they have a family history or a personal history of melanoma, and they have the most at-risk skin type possible for getting melanoma. And if we look at the melanoma potential without MT2, you can see, just reading the stats, that even just using a tanning bed one time before the age of 35, it's a 75% higher chance of melanoma. And you can look at all of these stats if you want to pause the video. If you actually combine the regular use of tanning beds, high risk skin type, and the personal history or family history of melanoma, you can get up to 25x the likelihood of getting melanoma. So even without MT2, these people are at a very high risk of getting melanoma either way. And that's the same with 95% of the case studies we have. All of them are partaking in either tanning beds, regular tanning outside, family history, and the phototype, right? So there's actually no way to tell if MT2 is the primary reason for them getting these moles or getting diagnosed with melanoma, because even if they didn't have MT2, they likely would have got the same results either way. And if you think about the people, because they obviously aren't doing much research, they are using tanning beds and they're constantly tanning outside as well, and have a family history of melanoma. These people are using MT2 specifically for enhancing their protocol when it comes to tanning, instead of reducing their exposure to UV, especially like tanning beds. I don't know anyone who actually uses tanning beds now, because the risk of melanoma is insane just by using them. So to me, all of the data points towards that these people are just ill-informed and they are just enhancing their own regimen instead of actually using MT2 for the intended benefit that most people use it for. But the only interesting case study I would say is this nasal spray that a 22-year-old woman used. There isn't much of the study to go off of, but it's basically someone used a nasal spray version of MT2 and there was a growth in their anterior maxilla, so like behind their teeth, and it's related to melanoma. So there is no way for the UV exposure to be inside behind her tooth. This is the only case, but keep in mind, this is the only case. There are no other cases like this, and a lot of people actually use the nasal spray instead of subcutaneous injection. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on this because, again, it's one case out of hundreds of thousands of people using MT2. So if you were to use MT2, sub-Q only, minimal UV exposure, and definitely no tanning beds. And if you are phototype 1 or 2, just know you are at a higher risk. Same, it goes for the family history as well, or personal history with melanoma. Exact same thing, right? You are a higher risk group either way. But yeah, if you want to look at sources for MT2 for research purposes only, or education on it, or just discussing it, you can click the link in the description or the first comment that is pinned by me and just join the Discord. It's all free. But yeah, that's everything on this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.